Adulting is hard. I know we say it, but once you're really living it, you realize how complicated it is. Don't you think it's sort of crazy that we are expected to choose majors that correspond to careers for the rest of our lives when we're only 17 or 18 years old? Then you have 4 years or so to really make sure that's what you want. You might even pivot a couple times in there or decide to go to grad school in a different direction or decide to take a gap year or even drop out altogether because you aren't ready to make that final decision just yet. There is a lot of pressure surrounding what we do for the rest of our lives. And once you start your first job or your first internship, you realize pretty quickly that work is hard, no matter what path you chose when you were 18. Suddenly, you're wondering if everyone is experiencing this. 40-hour work week or more, pulling yourself out of bed in the morning, having to work extra in the evenings or on weekends, the tedious tasks and long meetings. The paycheck is just barely enough if you cut back on some things, and not to mention coworker drama or tensions with your boss. Is this what it's supposed to feel like? I reached a point about this time last year where I was really struggling with work. I was not well. I was in the beginning stages of resigning from my position, but it was the busiest season and we were short-staffed. I had been carrying the workload as well as the emotional load of teammates leaving and work still having to go on. And there wasn't a free moment in the calendar to catch my breath. That's when I realized the reason I was struggling so bad was I had terrible work-life rhythms. You can call it balance or boundaries or whatever, but there was nothing separating my work from my life. How do you know if you have bad work-life rhythms? You answer work calls no matter the time of day. You check emails on date nights. You do some amount of work 7 days a week. You miss family events or kids' activities on a regular basis. You answer work emails or texts first thing when you wake up. You postpone or reschedule vacations, or you don't schedule them at all. You ignore health concerns so that you won't miss work. Or your family and significant other resents your job. But we have to work, right? Whether you work in ministry, in the marketplace, or at home, we all have to work. It's the way God set this whole thing up, and there's actually a theology behind work. I think it's helpful to start there, just briefly, so that we don't throw everything out the window and quit our jobs or run away from home. Genesis 1:27 says this, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And God blessed them, and God said to them, 'Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth.' And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good." We've got to hit some of the basics of work. God made us work before the fall. Work wasn't a consequence of sin. It was instituted by God as a part of the perfect garden life. Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, have dominion. And it was good for them to do this work. So we know work matters because, number one, God works. The whole creation account is a work of God. Our work is part of the reflection of the image of God in us. When we are creative, intentional, authoritative, administrative, strategic, organized, collaborative, we express those aspects of God's character. And God continues to work in his creation today. So God is a working God. We know work matters because, number two, God gives us work. First, as parents, collectively, we are to fill the earth and multiply ourselves. Parenthood is work. I don't even have to say it, and I don't know it firsthand, but I think it's a pretty big deal that it's the first job God gave us. And second, we steward his creation. You've probably heard the term cultural mandate, which refers to the verses we've already read and also to Genesis 2, verse 15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it. Meaning, our job is to carefully steward creation in a way that acknowledges God's ownership and to preserve creation to reflect God's glory. That's our second job. We also know work matters because God's plan is work. Work isn't a product of the fall. It was there first. It isn't a necessary evil we just tolerate to survive. Work is designed and given to us by God for our good. Work was a part of his plan from the beginning. But this is where it takes a turn. Because of the fall of man in Genesis chapter 3, work is now harder. Thank you, Adam and Eve. Starting with the first job, parenthood. It's going to be painful to even bring a child into the world. And there's going to be contention in your marriage. Then in our second job, you're actually going to have to put in major effort. You're going to fight with the ground with painful work and sweat. Work has now become a tension we have to manage. Part of that tension is our tendency to place work above everything in our lives. That is what ultimately leads to bad rhythms. We know work is a good thing. The goal of work is the glory of God and the good of others, but we can let a good thing get out of control. Idolizing our work comes with some pretty negative consequences. Our identity gets wrapped up in our work. We strive to please our boss and our team or our kids and our spouse because that's how you win at work. If we are succeeding at work, we are okay. We are valuable. We are worthy. We are secure. We are moving forward. We are accomplished. But this can go even deeper. Have you found yourself asking, why can't I turn it off when I get to my car? Why do I take it home with me? Or take it out of the home with me? When I do make time for myself, why do I rush to get back to work? Why does my mind race at night about work scenarios? Why have I never been able to make progress with boundaries? Why is there a low-lying panic? Work is no longer a means to glorify God and bring good to others. It has either become an idol that you worship to bring you satisfaction, a means to success or being seen as successful, a part or whole of your identity, you have become your title, or a false sense of power or position where you feel in control. When the focus of our work is not centered on bringing God glory and serving others, everything gets off balance. It's a consequence of the fall. So if you find yourself in any of these examples, there is something you can do today to redirect your focus and find relief. We need boundaries with work. Boundaries will address our terrible work-life rhythms. They will put work in its proper place. They will help us structure our lives around the gospel instead. These boundaries will need to be determined by you and God with your unique situation, but there are some basics to start. For example, if you're being given responsibilities that are not within your job description or capacity, if you're working overtime too often, 2 things you need to do. Number 1, take responsibility for your own feelings and responses. Number 2, take responsibility to your coworker or boss or spouse. More on this as we go. Here's your first boundary. Start by saying no. Clearly, respectfully decline taking extra responsibilities, doing things outside of your job, working overtime, doing someone's work for them. Say no to unimportant things. Focus on bringing excellent work to the important things first. You are responsible for stewarding your time and gifts at work. If it's not for you, don't take it. A few other things. Determine how much overtime you are willing to work based on your season of life. Review your job description. Make a list of your tasks and responsibilities to determine what's priority. What can only you do? What can you delegate? What can you eliminate? Make an appointment to talk to your boss to clarify your overload or your burnout. Boundary number 2, limit your time. If you work 40 hours a week or 30 hours, if you're part-time, whatever it is, find the limit. Sit down and write out the tasks and hours it takes to do the tasks. Then schedule those hours on a weekly calendar. Like actually go in and block it out because you do not have limitless time. But if you don't live by a schedule and put time limits on your work will fill all of your time. Next, if you're dealing with a difficult coworker and need boundaries, realize you are only in charge of yourself and your responses. You have to take responsibility for you. You can't change or control another person. You can't even make a person aware of their shortcomings. If you are the one struggling, you are the one to fix it within yourself. So boundary number 1 here. Focus on your response and managing your emotions. Refuse to let that person's decisions and reactions affect you. Don't get sucked into their game. But also, limit time with them if possible. Keep communication clear, concise, and emotion-free. If you need to take a few breaths before you respond or request to circle back to that topic, do it. When someone else is emotional, we do not have to be, but it takes practice to get there. The next part will help. Number 2 boundary, pray for them. This is a big one. You can't pray for someone and hold a grudge. The first time I tried this, I just cried. I knew I needed to adjust my heart towards them, and asking God to bless them just broke me. So this one works every time. Back in my season of burnout and difficult work situations, I made some adjustments for my work-life rhythm, and maybe some of these will spark ideas for you. Now, these are just me, not prescriptions. First, I Sabbathed a full 24-hour day. Although the day changed depending on events and extra work, I did commit to a full day. Next, I didn't touch work emails or texts until I had met with Jesus in the morning. We tend to touch our phones first thing to turn off our alarm or check the weather, but then notifications are screaming at us to be cleared. Next thing you know, you're scrolling or you're responding to emails. I promise you it can wait an hour. It can wait until work starts. Next, I said no to meetings when I truly didn't have the time. If it was really important, they'd reschedule or send me notes. Next, I truth tell, even when it's hard. There is a way to do this with grace, but it's important to ground yourself in truth and then stand on it. Next, I didn't show up to things I wasn't a part of. You don't actually have to be at every single thing. I know FOMO is a real feeling, but it shouldn't dictate your schedule. Next, I said no to things that weren't in my job description. That could mean party planning for the office, picking up extra shifts, joining clubs or hobby groups, adding on personal assistant duties for your boss, special projects, or volunteering in other departments. This can be hard too, but you are responsible for your yes. Next, I didn't always answer my phone, and this gets flack sometimes, but for me, I have to train people how to treat me, even if that makes them mad. It is unreasonable and unhealthy for someone to be attached to their phone or to be expected to answer all hours and all days. No one and nothing is that important. Next, I stopped working at home in most seasons. Sometimes you have a little leftover work. It's easier from the couch with a little TV, but that can add up. And if you aren't actually present at home, then your family will start to take notice. It can wait until work hours. Next, I didn't talk about work all the time because I needed a break. My friends needed a break. My family needed a break. And if you are in a difficult season at work, you need people to help process and encourage you. But don't make every time you talk be about work. Your life is more than your job. Find joy in your friends and family time. Now, I wasn't perfect, but I know those boundaries saved me in that season. It helped me to finish my assignment well, instead of in bitterness and burnout. At the end of the day, the work that you do, how you show up for that work, and how you steward that work is your responsibility. We've got to keep our focus on the glory of God and the service of others. Let's take a minute to process and pray. Ask yourself, what is your current work situation? Specifically, how is your heart? What boundary can you try even today